There were just a few other items I want to discuss over here. In the last video we looked at send ports, receive ports, and send port groups. You also have things called roles and parties. So this is actually, the parties have an interface with a SharePoint front end called BAS, Business Activity Services. I think that's what it's called. And so here you can add parties, which are your trading partners. So like we could put in IBM here, and IBM could have aliases, like they also have a Dun & Bradstreet number. So you scroll down here and find D&B, Dun & Bradstreet, and their qualifier and their number might be something like that. And so this helps to identify when a message comes in, it can actually look inside that message, and if the Dun & Bradstreet number is 123456, then it says, oh, I know that message is coming from partner name IBM. And then we'd have another partner, and they would have all their Dun & Bradstreet numbers in our own little database here. And so you can either add this data here, or you can add it in SharePoint and kind of transfer it back and forth. You can also have certificates here, so you can have different encryption, decryption for each party, and then you actually associate your existing send ports to a party. And this is a feature again called BAS, which I consider to be a rather advanced feature that we will not be covering in our intro CDs. Roles are very similar. Once you have an orchestration that uses roles, roles are how you tie an orchestration to a party. So you could, what this allows you to do is, for instance, switch your buyers, or who you're buying from. So let's suppose you've got a deal to buy your paper from Office Max, and then Office Depot gives you a better deal. So your business processes could be the same, but you just substitute the people you're dealing with, and that would be basically a substitution of parties by changing who plays the part of a role. So the role could be your paper buyer or your paper vendor, and then today Office Max is the paper vendor, and tomorrow it's Office Depot. Then up here you have assemblies, which are your .NET components, and so you basically have the full assembly name, which you can actually see over here, the name, the version, the public key token, and the culture, and this little property box right here. Then you have your orchestrations themselves, which are your how you execute your business processes. And you can't see the orchestration here, but you can see again what possible roles it has, if it has any. And then if it calls another orchestration, you can see that here. I think I have one that calls another orchestration. Yeah, so right here there's a precedence then that this orchestration has to be deployed before this one if it's in a different project. So again, you can see, especially here, your naming conventions, how important they would be. You should use, like your company name dot your application name dot something at least, so that these kind of sort together based upon various functions. And now let me show you another tool called the BizTalk Admin Console. These are all the links you have in BizTalk, and it's easier for me to show them this way than it is to go to Start Programs because of the way the video is situated here. But here's the tool called BizTalk Server Admin. And then again, it's connected usually to a BizTalk server group, which is how you can actually group multiple servers together, especially on a production system. Now, this is a new feature in BizTalk 2006, which is really cool, called an application. So when you deploy your orchestrations and your schemas from within Visual Studio, you specify what application you want to put them in. And in the demos that we're going to be doing in most of this CD training, we're going to be using the purchase order application. So then I can zoom down here, and I can see I have 3 orchestrations in that application. But I also did a little demo here called Parallel Demo, and there's an orchestration there as well. So it helps you group your projects together, which is very useful for migrating them from, for instance, from test to production. So here you can see this, basically the same 3 orchestrations that we saw within Visual Studio, and lots of times these features overlap. In BizTalk 2004, you had to be kind of a little more conscious that certain functions you had to do inside Visual Studio and other functions you had to do inside the admin console. And now they're not 100% the same, but now you can do almost the same, at least from a programmer's point of view, in either utility. So here, for instance, we can right-click and stop and unenlist an orchestration. And we'll just wait a sec for that to happen. That's nice little error. Oh, that's because these orchestrations, again, one calls the other. So we have to unenlist this one actually first. So there's actually sort of a precedent order there. Now, since these are actually updating rows and tables in a database, you can actually come back to this utility and you can see that it's changed after you do a refresh. So if you click here, there's a refresh button, and now you can see that orchestration, the icon is dim compared to the other icons. And then what we can do right here is enlist, and we can start it back up basically. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why it jumped over there. Oh, Visual Studio just crashed, that's why. So I actually had to reopen Visual Studio, and let's try it one more time here. I notice you don't even have to be in any project over here. You can open the BizTalk Explorer without being in any BizTalk project. Your projects are totally separate from what's over here in the Explorer. Not totally separate, but basically. So I either want to enlist or start. Yeah, this is the screen we should have got. And it basically says, do you want to enlist all the receive locations as well? I click OK. And starting and stopping an orchestration might take sometimes 10 to 20 seconds depending on how it's built. So we're waiting on that little icon. Now it changed color there. So now if we come over here, this screen will eventually reflect that. The only thing is you have to refresh it. So if you don't click the refresh button, oftentimes you're looking at slightly out of date data. Another thing that can occur here, by the way, is that if you change something over here and then you try to change it here, it does keep record locking. So oftentimes you try to do a change and you have to cancel out, go refresh, and then try the change again. And then here's all your receive ports, and then your receive locations. And this is like a nice, easier way to view it, because over here you have to like click the little plus sign and the plus sign under that, and then you still don't see the name of the file that it's hooked to. Whereas over here, this is almost like a SQL report where you can see the receive location name, whether it's enabled, and then you can actually double click here and expand the URL or URI here, and you can see what type of transport protocols you're using. You can actually sort by that, so we don't have any to sort. But if you click here like receive port, you see how they resorted where the P came before the R. If I come over here and click by receive location, it resorted that way. And that's what we need to show there. And you also have, of course, your SynPort groups here, and your orchestrations, your row links, and so on. Now there's many other things in the BizTalk admin console, but we will talk about those in a different video. They would be down here under the platform settings.